Hampton that they litigated and recovered the highest award at such time for the killing of a black leader. And so the family of Malcolm X is honored to have them join our team. We are honored to represent Eliasa and her sisters in what has been a quest for justice for 59 years. Today, they have been fighting to get to the truth, to finally hold NYPD and the federal agencies responsible for a conspiracy to assassinate their father, Malcolm X. We know that in the past we've had Mr. Mustafa Hassan come forward, who was there in the Audubon Theater when Malcolm was assassinated. And he revealed new evidence, new information for the first time ever, that when he actually had captured, was able to grab one of the shooters, when NYPD officers ran up, the first thing they said was, "Is he with us? Is he one of us?" As they tried to help him escape in Mr. Mustafa Hassan's observation. Now, today, we have two additional individuals who are for the first time talking about what happened 59 years ago. You're going to hear from Mr. Khalil Saeed Ramakrishna, and you're going to hear affidavit read by Mr. Walter Bowe, who is 93 years old, who was one of the founders of the Organization for African American Unity, the organization that was founded by Malcolm X after he left the Nation of Islam. Present here with us are his daughter, Kai Bowe, as well as Nandi Bowe. Their father is having some health issues, and that is the reason he's not here with us today. Every time we present new information to corroborate our conspiracy claims, it seems, Attorney Taylor, that the federal government does even more to try to keep the truth from coming to you all and coming to the family. As you know, the federal government continues to conceal, even to this day, information that we have requested from them months ago. 4 months ago, we submitted FOIA requests for Malcolm X related materials and surveillance that we know are in their possessions based on the exonerations of the individuals who were wrongfully convicted for killing Malcolm X. After much back and forth, we are now expected, as of last week, to wait 78 months for any requested material. And why, you ask? They keep coming up with excuses. For some of our FOIA requests, the federal government has refused to even acknowledge the documents, much less tell us that they are looking for them. Once they even told us we could not receive documents on Malcolm X because he was still potentially living. Can you believe that? They were given an excuse that we can't give this information out because it's a privacy matter and that the individual is still potentially living. It has been over 4 months, 22 days, and they still have not made or provided a single search for any of our numerous requests to them. I asked you, why is it 59 years later and they still won't give up the documents of their surveillance on Malcolm X, their reports generated about Malcolm X, and their actions and orders delivered from J. Edgar Hoover himself regarding Malcolm X? 59 years later, what more excuses can you offer to why America cannot see what the government did involving the assassination of Malcolm X? We're going to get to the truth one way or the other, and I know with the legal team we have assembled, we will dot every I, we will cross every T, and we will leave no stone unturned. And that's why we're so very proud to have the People's Law Office now joining us in this quest for justice. Before you hear from the new affidavits, I want to introduce you to an iconic civil rights lawyer who I am so very honored to work with. I mean, he has been a trailblazer for black leaders who have been attacked for the government for decades. And so without further ado, I give you not just a great lawyer, but a man who exalts humanity on the highest level, regardless of what society has tried to say to condemn our black leaders. He has always found the better in every American citizen, trying to make the American promise and constitutional promise right for all the citizens. I give you Attorney G. Flint Taylor.
Thank you, Attorney Crump. The honor is mutual. The honor to work with Attorney Crump and his team, and even more importantly, if I may say so, to work with the family of legendary leader Malcolm X. That is why we at the People's Law Office and myself have come into this case. And this just isn't a legal case. This is a human rights case. This isn't just a New York case. This isn't just a U.S. case. This is an international case. Yes. This is a case that has festered for how many years? 59 years. And it's time for that to end. And Attorney Crump has asked me to come in because, yes, my office and I, when I didn't have this gray hair, started working on the Fred Hampton assassination in Chicago. That was in 1969. We fought that case for 13 years. We fought that case when nobody thought we could get anywhere. We fought that case when COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret program, was still completely under wraps. And in that case, we uncovered the fact that not only was it the Chicago police, not only was it the state's attorney of Cook County, but it was the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and his informant provocateurs that set up and effected the execution of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, two of the youngest but most upcoming black leaders at that time. They lived in the footsteps of Malcolm X. They assassinated him, and while we did that case, we started to understand through documents that started to become revealed that, in fact, this COINTELPRO program not only set up the assassination of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, but had taken credit for the assassination of Malcolm X. And as the evidence has been coming out here over the last 3 years, particularly after the two men who were wrongfully convicted were exonerated and the DA mentioned and put into the public record some additional FBI documents that have raised even more questions about the role of the FBI and the role of the NYPD and its secret bossy organization in the assassination of Malcolm X, and as, if not more importantly, in the cover-up of that assassination. These files on all these FBI informants that just happened to be in this ballroom when Malcolm X was assassinated, who J. Edgar Hoover just happened to say, don't reveal them. And that one mysterious man with the shotgun, Bradley, who assassinated Malcolm X with his shotgun. They wouldn't reveal his name. He escaped. Well, it turns out now, according to the DA, they had an FBI file on him. And he was busted 4 years later in an armed federal robbery, and he walked out free, while his co-defendant got 25 years. I ask you, what is there that remains to be learned about William Bradley and his connection to the FBI? His connection to J. Edgar Hoover's statement that we now know. We said, we got to get Malcolm X. We got to do something about Malcolm X. So if you ask us why we're coming into the case, that's why we're coming into the case. It's a human rights case. We need transparency. Where is Mayor Adams? Where is he in terms of putting in the public record all those bossy records that have been covered up for all these years? Where is the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, in terms of these 9 informants? The Bradley file, where are they? 78 months before they're going to give us anything? Come on now. There has to be truth. There has to be justice. And I want to say that not only have I in my office worked in the past on the Fred Hampton case, but more recently we have been involved in fighting over many years against police torture in the city of Chicago. Yes, torture. And I use that term advisedly. And I want to point out that the city of Chicago a few years ago, under pressure, political pressure, movement pressure, gave reparations to all of the men who had been tortured but did not have a legal case because of the statute of limitations. And don't let me hear the federal government or Mayor Adams talk about the statute of limitations, because this is a human rights issue. This is a reparations issue. This is an issue regardless of what happens in court, because now, 59 years later, people are back on the set. Amen. Attorney Crump is back on the set. The family has never come off of the set. And we all are coming together. We're all coming together on this day to move forward and make the demands on the powers that be to speak some truth to that power, and to get transparency in this case, and to get justice for the families of Malcolm X. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney Taylor. And you all see why We are so excited to have that wealth of knowledge, that wealth of history joining us. The family could not be more excited and elated to have additional resources that knows where the bodies are buried, per se, within the Department of Justice and the FBI files. At this time, you will hear from a man who was there guarding Malcolm X's house after it was bombed. A young Howard University college student who, like many young black Americans, believed in the message that Malcolm X was trying to deliver to the community. So much, in fact, that he attended and stood with Malcolm on many occasions. And for that, he was targeted and lost his liberty, changed his life in many ways. But I think he's better to read his affidavit to you all to articulate his journey to this day. I give you Mr. Khalil Saeed Ramakrishna.
Thank you. Thank you. From its creation in 1964 to 1965, I attended public events organized by the Organization of Afro-American Unity, the OAAU, founded by El Haji Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. It was widely known by my acquaintances that I had deep fondness for Malcolm X, as I spoke frequently with respect for Malcolm X, and I always made an effort to attend his speeches. In or about January 1965, I attended public events. On about January 1965, I was introduced to Raymond A. Wood. I only interacted with Wood on approximately 2 occasions. Robert Collier, a new acquaintance, told me that he wanted to introduce me to his friend who had some ideas. This friend was Raymond Wood. When Collier introduced me to Wood, I had only known Collier for 2 or 3 months. Collier was also invited Walter Bowe to attend. Since Wood was undercover, I had no idea he worked for law enforcement. I later found out Wood was an undercover police agent. Wood was an undercover police officer from the New York City Police Department and the Bureau of Special Services and Investigations. The idea Wood introduced was a conspiracy to destroy national monuments, specifically the Statue of Liberty. Those at the meeting laughed, so I assumed Wood was not serious about this idea. I said very little at the meeting. In the weeks leading up to my wrongful arrest and incarceration, I never heard the idea again. I was asked by a close follower of Malcolm X to serve as security at Malcolm X's home after it was firebombed on February 14th, 1965. I was offered this opportunity because it was widely known that I respected Malcolm X and was interested in the OAAU. It was a small group of individuals who were asked to serve as security for Malcolm X's home. Only 2 or 3 individuals per shift. I would always have made myself available to serve as security for Malcolm X, as I would always have made myself available to serve as Malcolm X security had I not been wrongfully arrested. It was widely known that Malcolm X's life was frequently in danger and under constant threat. On or about February 16, 1965, 5 days before Malcolm X's assassination, I was detained and arrested by the New York City Police Department related to the Woods conspiracy. I was shocked to hear the New York Police Department accusing me of conspiracy to destroy the Statue of Liberty. I lost 18 months of my young life for a crime I did not commit. I was only 22 years old at the time of my arrest. I spent 4 years as a student at Howard University working towards a degree in electrical engineering. I was helping my father in his store during a gap year in my studies when I was arrested. As a result of my detention, I never graduated from Howard University. I believe I was detained in this conspiracy by the NYPD, boss, and FBI in order to ensure Malcolm X's planned assassination would be successful. Had I not been arrested, I would have attended his speech and could have served as part of his security detail. That's my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Next, we will have Attorney Nabiha Shir read Walter Bowles' statement. As we stated, for health reasons, he could not be here today.
Good morning. I will be reading off Mr. Bowie's sworn affidavit. From its creation in 1964 through 1965, I was a charter member of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, founded by Malcolm X. On or about January 19, 1965, I was approached by Raymond Wood, who, unbeknownst to me, was an undercover police officer from the New York City Police Department and Bossy Unit. Since Wood was undercover, I had no idea that he was working for a law enforcement agency. Wood manipulated me into participating in a conspiracy manufactured by Wood, the NYPD, and Bossy to destroy a national monument, specifically the Statue of Liberty. On February 16, 1965, 5 days before Malcolm X's assassination, I was detained and arrested by the NYPD related to the conspiracy manufactured by Wood, the NYPD, and Bossy. Due to my detainment, I was not present on or about February 21, 1965, at the Audubon Ballroom. Since I was not present, I was unable to assist with the security detail, which would have been a normal role for me at Malcolm X's public engagements. I believe that if I had been present, I believe that had I been present in the Audubon that day, I may have been able to prevent the government's conspiracy to assassinate Malcolm X. It is my belief that Wood, the NYPD, and Bossy conspired to deliberately have me and members of Malcolm X's known security detail arrested, preventing us from being present at the ballroom and guaranteeing that the assassination of Malcolm X was successful. Like those who we now know who were wrongfully imprisoned, Khalil Saeed and I were wrongfully convicted. I believe now is the time for me to come forward.
Thank you, Attorney Scheer. Before we take your questions, it's interesting to note that now multiple people have talked about Raymond Wood and this fabricated plot to get people arrested. You know, Attorney Taylor talked about COINTELPRO. We know Panther 21 involving Afeni Shakur, Tupac Shakur's mother. We know that Raymond Wood was part of that, where he said, what were they going to try to do? They were going to try to blow up the Statue of Liberty. You would think, Flint, they could get something new, something original, but it is the same thing consistent with attacking these black leaders, saying that they were going to blow up United States monuments like the Statue of Liberty, to then have them arrested and have their liberty taken away from them. Malcolm X, you know, your father said something profound before he was assassinated. He said, they will pay one of us to kill one of us just to say it was one of us. Let that sink in. They will pay one of us to kill one of us, just so they can then say it was one of us and try to wash all the blood off their hands. And what has the federal government consistently said? Oh, it was the Nation of Islam, it wasn't us. We had nothing to do with it. Well, if you had nothing to do with it, why don't you release the information? Why don't you release the files, release the memos, release the reports, release the surveillance of Malcolm X? 59 years. How long is it going to take for you to come clean? If you had nothing to do with the assassination of Malcolm X, then the FBI files on Malcolm X should be irrelevant. Why hide them? Why keep them? That is the crux of the matter. Attorney Taylor articulated it perfectly. When you think about Bradley, the person who we know had the shotgun, who shot some of the 17 shots into the body of Malcolm X right here in this very ballroom, right in front of Malcolm X's wife and children. And yet they let him walk away scot-free, even though they had an FBI file on him. And then, as Flint said, that is astonishing. It is jaw-dropping. This man, 4 years after Malcolm X's assassination, commits bank robbery. Him and his accomplice. His accomplice goes away for 25 years. But yet, Bradley, one of the men who killed Malcolm X, walks away again scot-free. At some point, they're going to have to come clean with the citizens. At some point, Ilyasa, they're going to have to come clean with your family. We're going to get justice for Malcolm X. We're going to get justice for Malcolm X. They can continue to try to sweep it under the rug, but we will refuse to go away. Thank you so much, Mr. Saeed. I know Malcolm was your personal friend, and I know how painful it was when they killed him, but your being here today helps us get one step closer to the truth. We will let Ilyasa say a word, and then we will try to take your questions. You only just thank him.
My family is very grateful to you for coming forward, because we know that it was a painful time, especially to have lost someone so close.
I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ilyasa. Attorney Taylor, if you want to join us, we will try to take some of your questions if you have any. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Can you please give more detail as to the specific documents you requested access to as part of your FOIA request? What do you believe will be learned by the releasing of those documents?
Yeah, you want to go first, and then we'll let Flint finish it.
We requested just a broad search for any files they had on him, any surveillance they had on him, and others related as well, such as Wood. And for Wood, they provided us a search that they had done for somebody else. They did not actually fulfill our search request, and they haven't for anything that we have requested from them.
And who was the request made to? Was it the DA's office, the FBI? Or?
No, the federal government.
Okay.
The Department of Justice, to be specific. Also, we requested information of who were the undercover FBI agents and government undercover police officers that they were working with, like Wood, that were in the Audubon ballroom that day when Malcolm X was assassinated. I think they confirmed that it was 9 undercover government agents in the room, but they won't tell us who they were.
Why do you think they won't tell you?
Flint, why do you think they won't tell us?
Why won't they tell us? Well, what happens if it's Bradley is one of those 9 people? What happens, as we know, it's trickled out a little bit from the Vance investigation, that there were 9 informants who were witnesses who J. Edgar Hoover said, don't reveal this. So what will it show? It will show government complicity. If you get a name of any one of those people and you go to that person and you find out what they did, and what they did under COINTELPRO, for example,
Speaking to them.
that would tell you a whole lot. And that's why they don't want to reveal the names. And if you've seen these documents, and I've seen them now for 55 years, the COINTELPRO documents, and the deletions that they put in them, and the ones that they tell you that they can't give you, whether it's 78 months or 52 years, I think that's a question that answers itself. Because as Attorney Crump said, if there's nothing there, then turn them over. And if there's any issue where they would say, well, there's a secrecy because they're informants and we don't want to reveal, this is 59 years later. There's very little, there's no danger to anyone to be outed as an FBI informant at this point.
And I think they know we're getting close. I think they know we're getting close. That's why they refuse to release any of the information. I thought Attorney Taylor made an excellent point. Well, NYPD, you can release your information. It's been 59 years. We want the federal government to release their information, but we want NYPD to release their information as well. I think about Mr. Walter Bowe, 93 years old. Let him have peace of mind, finally. Let him have peace of mind. I mean, these individuals' lives were changed because of this conspiracy. Innocent men went to prison just so they could cover up their dastardly deeds. At what point do you finally come clean to say we were wrong? J. Edgar Hoover was wrong assassinating black leaders because he believed it posed some threat to America if black people got equality. At what point? 59 years, at what point? Any other questions?
Mr. Crump, 1 year ago today, you were here to say that the attorneys for the family are going to seek a subpoena Mr. Mujahid Halim to find out what he knows. Has that subpoena happened? And if so, what did you learn?
We have been faced with stonewall, collusion, delay. They even said to us, we can't give you this information because Malcolm X is still potentially living. I mean, we have that in a letter from the federal authorities. And so, you know, we're not going to stop. I have a great role model. It has not happened, but you heard how long it took. 13 years. So it ain't like we're not trying to get the information. They're trying to hide it.
So the $100 million claim that accuses the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD of conspiring to bring about the wrongful death of Malcolm X, that forges on, continues.
It marches on, and we're getting closer every day. Any other questions?
Yes, this is for anyone standing here. I don't know if any of you have taken some time to reflect and think about, you know, what might have been of Malcolm's legacy if he wasn't slain here 59 years ago.
Well, I'll say this, as I've said before, Malcolm X was one of the greatest thought leaders of the 20th century. He was evolving. He was, with his OAUU, was evolving to bring people together to say that we are not very different, regardless of the color of our skin, our eye color, our geographical locations. We are not different. And so he was evolving. What would have come of Malcolm X as he continued to evolve? We will never know. But if the first part of his leadership as a thought leader was any indication, he was going to inspire people in ways that we could only imagine. And as Lily also said, her father had already done so much in the short time that he was at the forefront.
A short time of his life. He was only 39.
He was only 39 years old. And Malcolm was a leader of men. There was no question about it. His words, his passion, his conviction attracted men to him, people to him, to share his vision for a better world for all of our children. And I think that's where he was headed. Just like Fred Hampton, these great idealistic leaders who talked about America, we can be better if you let everybody sit at the table. Yeah, I don't think we're in no more danger than we are when we fight against getting justice for George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, or suing the white supremacists who killed the elderly black citizens in Buffalo, New York. And I know Flint sued the Ku Klux Klan throughout his career, and this comes with the calling. If you're going to stand up for marginalized members of the BIPOC community being killed by sick people, then you know that that is a risk you take. But you cannot live in fear. I refuse to live in fear. I don't know if you want to answer that question. She asked about, do you feel you're in danger?
I second that. I did want to say one thing. I don't know if it's a final thing or not. But when we were talking about transparency and the fact that not only the FBI, but the NYPD refuses to give up the information about Bossie and their central role. We all know now about Bossie was kind of like the junior partner and the junior version of COINTELPRO and the FBI in doing disruptive, illegal, and unconstitutional actions. And then I kind of scratched my head and said, I'm not from New York, but if I'm not wrong, wasn't and isn't the mayor of this city a former NYPD officer? And if so, doesn't he care about transparency? Doesn't he care about the New York Police Department being transparent and owning up to its prior wrongs so it doesn't commit them again? So we would ask Mayor Adams, not only as a man of good faith, but also as a former New York police officer, it's time for justice.
Yeah. We can right these historic wrongs. Right now, we don't have to go another year to where 60 years to right this historic wrong, to finally give justice to Malcolm X's daughters, who for over 5 decades now have wanted the truth about what really led to their father being killed in front of them right here in this room. If you have no further questions,
why do you feel like the sense why these individuals have come forward now?
you know, obviously, as Mr. Mustafa Hassan said, when Malcolm was assassinated, nobody questioned him, and then he started to get fearful that they were going to come after him. And I remember he said in this room last year, they had just killed Malcolm. If they would kill Malcolm, none of us are safe. You know, and they put innocent men in prison. Most of them were afraid not only for their liberty, but for their very lives. And so I think as they get older in life, many of them, like Mr. Mustafa said, I don't want to take this truth to my grave. I want to let the truth be known. And so, you know, when you think about Mr. Bo, 93 years old, thank God he's still here with us to tell his truth. Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Sir, could you spell your name for us? Everybody.
I'm attorney Ben Crump. Yeah, okay.
That's with a C.
What's the question?
Yeah, spell, yeah.
Say and spell your name.
Say your name and spell it.
Oh, my name, Khalil, spelled Khaleel. Sultan, Sultarn. Saeed, Sayyed. And I also use the name Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna.
Thank you. And Walter Bo is spelled Walter, Bo, B as in boy, O-W-E. And Attorney Shear has copies of the affidavits to give you all, and we can get them to you electronically as well.
Mr. Bo is 93, and Mr. Khalil, if you would.
Your age.
How young are you?
How old are I?
Yes, sir.
I'm
You can say it, I know.
I'm 81 years old.
Thank you. Thank you all. We'll continue to update you. Thank you so much, Mr. Simon.